I love these kinds of stories. Apparently, one of the greatest classic rock songs of the 80s almost didn't happen because when the song was first written, nobody in the band could figure out how to play it. So they actually put it on the back burner for a while. Then, when they finally nailed it, they wanted it to be a song that had a lot of edge. In fact, the lyrics were rewritten about 10 times, and they were so focused on it being a forbidden song, it had the F word in the title, in the chorus. And the way they used the F word, it was so over the line, there was no way they were going to get this played on radio. No chance. So the executives made them tone it down. A lot. But even with the clean version of the song, it still caused panic. When it came out and became a huge hit, a Karen in the government tried to get this song banned. Big controversy. Story you're not going to want to miss. Coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you ever snuck into your older siblings' bedroom to borrow their records, their tapes, or their CDs, you're gonna dig this channel. Nostalgia all the time. Make sure that you subscribe below right now. Click the red button and also click the bell so you always know when our stuff's coming out. So it's time for another edition of Number One in Our Hearts. This is the show that honors songs that were so unbelievably great that they absolutely should have been number one on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. But, you know, for whatever reason, lack of marketing, radio play, label support, or just sheer stupidity, the song came up short. Just to give you an idea about what this is about, if you haven't seen it before, previous episodes have covered Panama by Van Halen, Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC, and Enter Sandman by Metallica, on the hard rock side anyway. Today we're all about Scorpions, their 80s kick it and overdrive anthem, Rock You Like a Hurricane. Scorpions are without question the most accomplished German rock band in American music history. They've released over 50 albums since 1972, and that includes studio, live, compilation, or otherwise. And they've sold between 75 to 100 million records across the world, depending on what chart you look at. The Scorpions are a massive German juggernaut. And while we're at it, you can also credit them with 25 plus globally charting singles. But like all the best success stories, fame and fortune did not happen overnight. Said guitarist Rudolf Schenker, in the beginning of our career, we had a problem in Germany because nobody expects a German band to play rock music. With rock music, there are more bands from England or America, which are more exotic than Scorpions. But when we went to America in 1979, we became the exotic ones. They said, hey, what kind of crazy guys are these? Though the band was much less known here in the US throughout the 70s, there's no doubt that Americans liked what they heard when Scorpions reached across the Atlantic in the 1980s. In 1980, the band released their 7th studio album, Animal Magnetism. That went gold in the US, and it featured the non-charting single, The Zoo. Great song. After Animal Magnetism, lead singer Klaus Meine, he underwent vocal cord surgery. Took some time off, but the band did return in 1982 with their commercial Platinum Plus breakthrough, Blackout. The worldwide smash hit, No One Like You, that led the way on that particular album. Going into their 9th album, Scorpions, their lineup consisted of Klaus Meine on lead vocals. There was Rudolf Schenker and Matthias Jabs trading off on lead and rhythm guitar, Francis Buchholz on bass, and Herman Rarebell on drums. Love at First Sting, of course, a play on the phrase love at first sight. That was recorded in 1983 and 1984 at Dirk's Studios in West Germany. Initial sessions took place in Stockholm's Polar Studios in the summer of '83. But while there, Herman Rarebell developed some challenging and, in his own words, stupid health problems related to alcohol and cocaine abuse. He called it his storm cloud. And one day while in the studio there in Sweden, he actually collapsed. Now, after coming to, his bandmates decided that he needed to get off the booze and the drugs. He needed to get sober. So they enforced a leave of absence and sent him to Sicily with his girlfriend, Tamara, for a much-needed vacation. To keep things, moving forward during the sabbatical, producer Dieter Dirks, he brought in, with Rarebell's blessing, Rainbow drummer Bobby Rondinelli, and also bassist Jimmy Bain. Herman suffered through his hiatus on the Mediterranean beach the best that he could. However, the ad hoc rehab stint would be really short-lived. After about 2 weeks, he got a call from Dieter. Apparently, the replacements, they weren't working out. Not the band, the replacement. I'm sorry, I had to do that. Scorpions just didn't sound like Scorpions anymore. So Dieter insisted that Herman get his butt back in the studio and play the percussion tracks for the entire album. That's exactly what he did. Though in terms of songwriting, Herman contributed less to Love at First Sting than on previous albums, but he did still contribute lyrics to Bad Boys Running Wild. And today's feature, Rock You Like a Hurricane. Love at First Sting, that was released on March 27th, 1984. It would be an absolute monster hit for this band, becoming their most successful album in the US. It quickly rose to number 6 on the Billboard Top 200 albums chart. I mean, that was something that was almost unheard of for like a hard rock band at that time. Maybe Van Halen, Def Leppard, AC/DC, but that's about it. Love at First Sting would go on to sell over 3 million copies in the States, according to RIAA. Love at First Sting showcases Scorpions at the height of their creativity and as sure of themselves as ever, blurring the lines between heavy metal and hard rock. The album is hallmark Scorpions infused with the modern 80s sonic ingredients essential for luring in mainstream audiences. Rudolf Schenker said, Love at First Sting was the best balance they ever had between rock songs and ballads. The perfect thing was that we had Rock You Like a Hurricane on the rock side and Still Lovin' You on the slow side, the latter of which is actually credited with starting a baby boom in France back in 1985. For singles, Love at First Sting included the aforementioned Still Loving You, as well as Big City Nights. I'm Leaving You. And of course, Rock You Like a Hurricane. Rock You Like a Hurricane is an unstoppable, over-the-top 80s power anthem built around a bombastic, mind-blowing riff. Written by Klaus Meine, Herman Rarebell, and Rudolf Schenker, I gotta say, after listening to the lyrics, that's pretty easy to figure out what it's all about. Scorpions were no strangers to the rock and roll lifestyle and haven't shied away from talking about the extracurricular activities that they engaged in over the years, or in this case, writing songs about them. So when the song was written, the Scorps wanted it to be edgy. So at first it was called Bleep You Like a Hurricane, except the F word is in the place of the bleep. A title that would make even the most hardened sailor blush, right? Bleep You Like a Hurricane. The executives, they made him change it, of course. We're going to get that one past the censors. According to Herman Rarebell, Rock You Like a Hurricane was a celebration of some of the wilder nights that the band members had on the road. Seriously, we were not trying to be the bad boys of rock music, is what he said. But with our album covers and risque lyrics, we were getting there really quickly, and we weren't about to change anytime soon. Rudolf Schenker said the song actually dated back to 1983, which is around the same time that he came up with Still Loving You. But the funny thing about Rock You Like a Hurricane was that at first, no one in the band could actually play it, or at least not play it very well. You might call these guys perfectionists, but they weren't willing to compromise, and they knew this song had to have that perfect 80s rock feeling. Klaus Meine went over the lyrics around 8 or 9 times, as I've read, trying to write the song, but just didn't have that right feel. So only partially finished, Rock You Like a Hurricane was put on the back burner for that time. It did resurface a while later in rehearsals when the band was getting ready to record Love at First Sting. When the lyrics and title Rock You Like a Hurricane came into play, I guess some of the band members were concerned that it was too blatant, too over the top. Oh no, you can't say Rock You Like a Hurricane. But Rudolf Schenker, he was adamant. No, this is perfect. And of course, he was right. Talking about the composition of the song, Rudolph said that the inherent tension between the verses and the chorus is the key to the whole song. Intentionally mimicking a romantic rendezvous, Hurricane starts slow in the verses, but builds up until it reaches that moment of fiery sonic explosion in the chorus. And this is what makes this song so great for us as listeners. It's that shift into overdrive that has us all in at the time and rocking out to the extreme. What could have easily sounded contrived from almost any other band, it comes off as 4 minutes and 12 seconds of pure, legit rock euphoria. In fact, when the song is over, you realize that 4 minutes went by pretty quick. It wasn't nearly enough. That's how I felt when I first heard it. Although Rock You Like a Hurricane is one of Scorpion's best-known songs, it was never written to be a hit. According to Klaus Meine, that's just not how they did things. We don't go looking for hit singles. We want good songs, and it's got to stay rough. It's important that it rocks, that it's wild, and that fans can see it in concert. We're not looking for something American radio will play. Well, they may not have been looking for it, but that's exactly what they got with this song. Rock You Like a Hurricane was just as equally suited for the airwaves as it was for the arenas. In a time when the American music scene, at that moment, was dominated by new wave and pop, the Scorpions achieved unprecedented success on the Hot 100 thanks to this song. Not only for a hard rock band, but a German one as well. Rock You Like a Hurricane went to number 25 on the Billboard Hot 100. Also went to number 5 on the U.S. Top Rock Tracks. You think about the album going to number 6 on the 200, though, the album chart. That's amazing. Internationally, though, it only reached number 78 in the UK and number 47 in the Netherlands. In Canada, it went to number 37, and in France, it did break the top 20. It went to 17. Rock you like a The same week that Rock You Like a Hurricane peaked at number 25 on May 26, 1984, on the Hot 100, there was nothing else like it on the charts. The closest contenders were Van Halen's All Wait at number 23, and then ZZ Top's Legs, I believe, was at number 50 that week. At the top of the charts, you had Steve Perry's Oh Sherry, and at number 5. Phil Collins with Against All Odds, Take a Look at Me Now at number 4. So take a look at me now. Or Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time at 3. You will find me time after time. Lionel Richie with Hello coming in at number 2. Hello. And then Denise Williams, Let's Hear It for the Boy from Footloose. It was at the top spot. All great songs, and some of which we've covered on this very channel. But like I say, nothing on the chart sounded like the Scorpions at that moment, and that's how it was in the 80s. So much great music. Rock You Like a Hurricane got an enormous boost from their entertaining, if not ridiculous, music video that drew the wrath of Tipper Gore and the Parents Music Resource Center. The brazenly over-the-top video feature women in crazy makeup, jungle cats, and space pods. Yeah, it's campy, but the most 80s way possible. The best part of the video is Scorpions themselves, who are rocking out in the center of a shaky metal cage, as if that could contain them. Actually, as you watch the video, you realize it's for their own protection. That's because on the outside, there's a mob of rabid female fans rattling the bars and trying to break in. And since this crowd of femme fatales were made up of real Scorpion fans, not actors, who knows what they would have done with the band had they pried it open. The video was directed by David Mallet, who had already worked on AC/DC's You Shook Me All Night Long. He also did Billy Idol's White Wedding. It's a
nice day for a white wedding.
Guitarist Rudolf Schenker credits him with capturing the essence of the Scorpions in this particular video. Apparently, Mallet told the band, "Don't be serious at all, let's get crazy." I'd say this video pretty much captured that. Gotta love the 80s. I distinctly remember the first time that I heard Rock You Like a Hurricane. It came blasting out of my radio. I was like 9, maybe I was 10. I was transfixed. I don't know if you were the same way when you were little, but I always had a recordable cassette in my boombox for emergencies, such as this. I mean, I had it down to a science. You know, if a cool song came on the radio that I didn't know what it was, with one fell swoop, I would rush over and I'd hit play and record the button, and I'd get that little ditty recorded on my Maxell tape. Only this time, my deck made that cursed sound that any child of the 70s or 80s knows with disdain. The ear-bleeding sound of the cassette being eaten by my deck. I mean, I freaked out and I tried best as I could to salvage it, but it was too late. Luckily, the DJ said the name of the band after the song played, and within seconds, I was planning a way to get my hands on this record. And I remember I managed to scrounge up about $5 for my allowance and other things, but I needed a few more dollars to get the vinyl. So I hatched a plan, and I talked my neighborhood pal Dave. By the way, I changed his name to Protect the Innocent. I got Dave to go in a few dollars more with me and promised to let him borrow it. So I remember we hitched a ride to the mall that was a good 30 minutes away. His cousin took us. We went into the Musicland store, and I ran to the aisle to the S section, and I remember flipping through the records, and I couldn't find it. I was panicking. Suddenly, I did find it. It was out of place, but nevertheless, as I lifted it up, I got a jolt of shock from that ever-familiar album cover. Oh boy, this was about as good as the song. So I took it up to the cashier, and I got it, and we finally, got home. Took a while because his cousin was flirting with some guy. Since we were closer to his house, as we pulled in, we ran inside his house, went downstairs to his room, and I clawed into the plastic, and I carefully pulled out the big black circle, and I placed it on the platter. I skipped past Bad Boys Running Wild to get right to Rock You Like a Hurricane. I had to hear this song again. And within seconds, Dave and I, were playing right along with our best air guitars. Hey, we were 9 years old. Within a few minutes, Dave's ultra-conservative mother pushed open the door and was lurking over us. "What is this devil music?" Like a telepathic Jezebel, her eyes fixed upon the album cover of Love at First Sting, and she let out this ferocious scream. "What is this pornography you've brought into my house, young man?" I mean, she looked straight at me, and she said this. I remember she said, "This has to be your doing, because my little Davy would never bring home such filth." And she looked at Dave, or Davy, and he agreed with her. "Oh yeah, Mom." He pointed to me and he said, he bought it. Long story short, within minutes, she decided to forego burning the record, and she pulled me over to my house and asked to speak with my mom and dad. I'm sitting there sheepishly. I wish you could have seen this lady. She was pretty scary. She screamed and she judged with the righteous indignation of Jimmy Swaggart on a Sunday.
"Forgiveness in hell, whatever goes to hell stays in hell." And
pointing to the part of the cover that I know I don't need to elaborate on, you get it. She told my mom and dad that they better get me some help because I was on a path straight to hell, to join Satan himself. That's how she sounded exactly. After a few minutes of this, my dad said, "All right, I'll handle this." I mean, I thought I was going to get grounded for a year. My mom told me she was very disappointed in me. And you know how when parents say that, it's almost worse than the punishment. She said, "This is not appropriate for a young man." She said, "We need to throw this record away." And my dad looked at my mom and said, "Don't worry, I'll talk to him." I remember my dad took me downstairs to my room and he let me talk. I said, "Dad, I didn't know about the album cover. I just love the song." So he actually asked me to show him the song. So I played the record.
Rock you like a hurricane.
And after a minute or two, my dad looked at me and he said, "Yeah, this is a great song." He said, "Bring me over the record." And he grabbed the record with one hand, I remember, and the cover with the other. He handed me the record with its sleeve, and he took the cover with him. He said, you know what, I'm going to store this away for a while. You can take the record, but make sure you play it softly or in your earphones, headphones. And with that, he patted me on the shoulder. He gave me his all too familiar wink, and he walked out of the room. I'll never forget it. Leave us a comment about Scorpions and their Punch It into Overdrive 80s anthem. Such a cool experience I had with that. What is your experience? What do you remember about the song? Share your memory below. Let us know in the comments. Check out our other Scorpions installment, 1991's Wind of Change. Great story behind that one. If you enjoy our content, make sure that you subscribe below so you never miss out on our videos. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, the records and the truth, my friends.